Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu has suspended several taxes which have a direct impact on the lives of citizens. Some of these are part of 4 executive orders signed by the president aimed at alleviating hardship being experienced by citizens, while others include taxes affecting businesses in the country with an aim at improving Nigeria's business climate. Amadin reports.
Nigeria's total public debt stock as of December 2022, consisting of both domestic and external debts of both the federal and state governments, including the federal capital, stands at 46.25 trillion naira. With this in mind, the need for Nigeria to raise more internally generated revenue to pay back its debt and provide infrastructure for citizens have never been more apt. With a new administration in place, President Bola Tinubu has approved several executive orders to implement improved tax collection, but assured that government will ensure businesses are not strangled.
Now, upon taking over the reins of government, the president promised to run a government that will not make life difficult for Nigerians or asphyxiate or stifle corporate entities in spite of the challenges the federal government. In spite of these challenges, this federal government is irrevocably committed to this pledge. And you all recall that prior to the advent of this government, certain tax changes were introduced in the dying days of the last administration. His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu promised to address business-unfriendly fiscal policy measures and multiplicity of taxes.
The special advisor to the president, while assuring that the president is committed to transforming the nation's tax fortunes, highlights the orders signed by the president.
Executive Order 1, the Finance Act, Effective Date Variation Order 2023, has now deferred the commencement date of the changes contained in the Act from May 28, 2023 to September 1, 2023. This is to ensure adherence to the 90 days minimum advance notice for tax changes as contained in the 2017 National Tax Policy. Executive Order 2, the Customs Excise Tariff Variation Amendment Order 2023. This has also shifted the commencement date of the tax changes from March 27, 2023 to August 1, 2023, and also in line with the national tax policy.
He also revealed that several taxes having an impact on citizens have also been suspended. Some of these include the 5% excise tax on telecommunication services in the country, excise duties on locally manufactured goods, suspension of the newly introduced green tax by way of excise on single-use plastics, including plastic containers and bottles, and suspension of import tax adjustment levy on certain vehicles.
So the president and this administration is very sensitive to the plight of the Nigerians, and like he's already promised, we will ensure that the suffering is reduced and also ensure that businesses operate in a more friendly environment where we manage taxes in a way that it is also very business friendly.
Any cost that has been passed over to the consumers will also be suspended, and this will be enforced through the consumer protection agencies of the government. We do know that ultimately, as all my colleagues have said, the ultimate gain is to alleviate the plight of Nigerians, and we will ensure that this is done through the appropriate agencies of government. Thank you.
Amadin, reporting for News Central.
Joining us on the news to discuss this further is financial expert Muktar Mohammed. Thank you for giving us your time. The special advisors there are saying the orders are to ameliorate the negative impact of tax adjustment on businesses. You heard them. How has this been received in the business community?
It's very encouraging. It's very positive. For me, it's one of those news. We've seen this administration give businessmen some of this good news that we've always been advocating for. Now, I've said it that tax itself sometimes can be used for revenue or can be used to grow your economy. What we've just seen the president and his team done is to see tax as a means of growing the economy. And for me, that is the way to go, especially in an economy that is struggling for foreign direct investors, is struggling for institutional investors, is struggling for a lot of things after 8 years of serious misuse, mismanagement of the economy, especially with policies like this policy that was just suspended. For me, I think it shows that the president really knows what he's doing. He have really hit the ground running. It's a very positive news, especially when you look at the telecom tax. That is good for the telecom sector, and that is good for Nigeria because those burdens would have been passed back to Nigeria. When you look at the car import duty charges that have raised taxes cars by almost 40%, and not only that, remember that we have now a fluctuation of the exchange rate that also have not helped. So you see cost of vehicles going as high as 70%. So for me, I think it's a welcome development. We are beginning to do what is supposed to be done, using tax to grow the economy, not just looking tax as a means of revenue alone.
Let's talk about the suspension of the controversial Financial Act 2023, signed in the twilight of President Buhari's administration. It is a suspension, not a cancellation. This will commence by September. What issues need to be addressed within the Finance Act?
A lot of issues need to be addressed, and one of those issues is the issues that have to do with taxes, especially in sectors that affect the ordinary Nigeria. You see, with what we're doing now, when we're talking about palliative, people just think palliative, palliative, palliative. One of the best palliative you can give is reduction in taxes for any economy. That will help grow the economy, that will bring more money into the hands of the citizen, that will improve your business environment, especially in an economy like ours that we need to spend. We need to spend to grow the economy. We need to spend in the consumer sector. And if you don't have resources on your hand, how can you grow that species, especially the manufacturing sector? So for me, I think those are part of the things they need to look around that the financial bill. We also will have to look at the value-added tax of 5% for diesel. That also is going to affect especially industries, because we have not gotten there in terms of power production yet. We still have a lot of problem when it comes to power. We don't have enough power to drive this industry. And so by increasing VAT, by putting VAT into diesel, that will also increase the cost of production, and that will be turned down to the citizens of Nigeria. We've said it that inflation in this country is not just driven by monetary policies alone, but money supply. There is a structural problem, and most of those structural problems have to do with the cost of doing business, the high cost of funding. So these are policies that will be addressed. I said it, what we lack in the previous administration was that we saw the monetary policy doing everything and even going into the physical side, with the physical side doing nothing. So for the first time, we are seeing the physical side coming up with policy to complement whatever the monetary policy committee will come up with towards the end of this month.
Okay, let's look specifically at the executive order suspending the 5% excise tax on telecommunication services. This was controversial before it was signed into law and remains so. This is also a tax that would have affected all levels of Nigerians. What does suspending it do?
Number one, we must also not forget that the former Minister for Communications said that he actually got an executive order from the president that policy should be suspended. But the then Minister for Finance refused. And so it shows the lack of cohesion in the previous administration. What that will do is, before now, it would have raised the cost of telecommunication in Nigeria. Remember, the telecom company were also thinking of raising their tariff. Because of that, and the NCC said, no, you cannot raise tariff. And they said, look, cost of business is going high and you're charging us taxes. So what we see now, we see that there will not be an increase in tariff in that space. So for me, that is good, knowing that that sector is one of those sectors that is played mostly by young Nigerians, entrepreneurs. It's one sector that have contributed to the GDP of this nation than any other sector, even in a downtime. So for me, it's a very, very good decision they have taken, even if that decision was taken in the previous administration through what the Minister for Communications said he had with the president, but yet the president went ahead and signed it. And I think it shows that the current president is really listening to the hearing of Nigerians.
Beyond these executive orders, what must this administration do to lighten the load on Nigerians?
Number one, they must come up with a palliative, especially the area of subsidy. But palliatives are always temporary. They should also look at other means that they can grow the economy, attract foreign direct investors, attract portfolio investors. They should also look at tax holiday, especially for the civil servants, as they're having a negotiation with the Nigerian Labour Congress. It could be for 1 year, it could be for 2 years. That will help put more money in the hands of ordinary Nigerians. And when they are looking at policy, I think they should not just look at policy that only will affect the civil servants. They should look at the policy that will affect the generality of Nigeria. For me, I think they are on the right track, listening to what people are saying. They have a challenge with the floating of the interest of the Naira. And I hope we will hear from the Monetary Policy Committee towards the end of this month that they will definitely intervene to create stability. If they are able to create stability in terms of float, I mean liquidity in the exchange rate, foreign exchange market, then we'll see the stabilization of the exchange rate. And once we get that stabilization, we'll begin to attract foreign and direct investors. That could just be the game changer for this economy.
Mr. Mohammed, thank you for sharing your expertise with us.
My pleasure. Thank you.